¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday. Welcome, everybody. Michael Hasser, Derry Bennett, Macy's Thanksgiving Parade is having a trans show this year on NBC, Peacock, and CBS. 1 million moms want to kill it. Like, actually get rid of it? And honestly, like, these people get triggered over something that has absolutely nothing to do with them. I can't wait to hear the conservative crying, the conservative screeching about a trans show, something that I can guarantee you they never gave a flying F about. Okay. Welcome, Cosmic Seeking. Indeed, happy Wednesday. Well, we do have quite a few things to go through, so I guess we should get some of this started, right? Okay. Yeah, I think I got everything up. Nope, not that. Hey, nope. Let's see if I can switch this over. Yeah, new tab. Is this not the current new tab? What if I just close this? There we go. No, come back. Heat, how's it going? Okay. There we go. Fixed it. Also, folks, that reminds me. We've been neglecting the Discord, so I've been doing a little bit of housekeeping. I am going to continue to work on the Discord. Wait, so now where'd my bot go? It makes me happy to see you work on it. I'm trying, okay? Alright, let's see if the bot came back. Bot! Show yourself. There we go. Wait, no, that's me. Yeah, the links are working. Ah, there you are. Okay. Fixed it. Okay, there was an update to OBS, so I guess things got a little turned around, but that's okay. Welcome, how's it going, Alio? I'm sad everyone is drama farming these days. I mean, It is the internet, so yeah, I imagine. Ali with the 12 biddies kicking things off. Thank you. Cenk is on the ballot in Kansas, if I read that correctly. Well then. Yeah, OBS 30, that's right. If that's the case, then hey, maybe Heat with the 13 biddies. If it's said on South Park, you have to go overboard, otherwise people say, what's the point? Okay, so I guess some states are going to allow it. Because I see that another, Arkansas. I see that he tried to get himself on the ballot in New Hampshire and he was rejected. So I guess it's going to be a state-by-state case. We're not in Kansas anymore. No, we're not. It's Arkansas. And here's the official statement. We just made a little bit of history on the ballot in Arkansas, first naturalized citizen on a presidential ballot. Who knows? Yeah, I don't know if this is what I would, what I would use. If this outlet is what I would use as a as a good accurate representation. I don't know. You can just kind of see where you kind of see where the biases are. Want me to search YouTube? No, it's okay. It's all good. I saw more favorable headlines for that same segment elsewhere. Favorable to Uyghur. Yeah, that's kind of like what I'm reading. Yeah. I mean, if this is the kind of like political cartoons that they're putting, I think we kind of figure out where the biases are, yeah? Anyways. Well, it may be the case that this might set precedent for him to be on other state on other state ballots. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe it won't go much further than a couple of states. But who knows? Maybe we'll be wrong. Does the Electoral College consider Cenk and Nikki? If they receive, if Cenk receives votes, then the Electoral College, I guess, would have to consider the popular vote. Should somehow, for some wild, in a wild turn of events, in an alternate universe, Cenk manages to win the popular vote on a state, the Electoral College might award electoral votes. Who knows? But this is a very wild hypothetical. State Ballot Law Commission upholds barring Cenk from New Hampshire. Yeah, that's what I saw. That's what I saw as well. So it may be the case that some states, since each state runs its elections how it sees fit, it may be the case that some states might allow him to run. Who knows? I need to see this happen with Trump. What, Trump being barred? Yeah, well. Don't allow a criminal to be president. Yep, not just any criminal either. This dude literally is facing, like, criminal charges for trying to overturn the election. That he's trying to run again. Because he lost. But don't worry, he didn't lose. He somehow won. But he has to run again. Yeah, square that circle for me. Anyways, who knows? I might end up eating my own words. Or maybe it doesn't go any further than that. So we'll see.
Uber and Lyft prices are out of control. Just the other day, I needed a ride from Denver Airport. $90, $87.95 to be exact, for a 22-mile ride at 10 a.m. on a Monday.
Yeah, so right off the bat, absolutely. Uber prices are absurd. Uber and Lyft prices are absurd. Absurd.
Is that him? It got me thinking. Does Uber actually want me to believe that this ride is worth $90?
Like, not that long ago, I'm talking like maybe a couple years ago. I don't remember paying that much when I really needed to use Uber because the car was in the shop. I don't remember needing to pay that much. I think I ended up paying maybe $40-something to and from, because I had to use Uber a couple of times. So I would never expect to have to pay $90 for an Uber ride. That would be absurd, and I would not be able to do that. That would be unsustainable.
Because as much as I don't want to pay $90 for a 22-mile ride, if that money's going to the driver, I can live with that. I yesterday came in from the airport and the app charged me
Yes.
$90. How
Yes.
much of that do you think is going to the driver?
Going to the driver like $25 the most.
Do you know how much a passenger pays for each trip?
Company they don't tell us. They try to hiding with that. Yes. They try to hiding everything.
So it seems the majority of my money is not going into my driver's pocket. And my driver has no knowledge of the exorbitant price I'm paying or how much of that the company is taking.
Yeah, so this is called this is bad. This is bad. $22 max for me going into my city. I mean, like maybe that's not even too bad. I'll throw down $20 to go into the city, and do what I need to do and then come back. But like, man, $90. 22 miles will not be cheap. It's absurd. So where I was going with this is, when one party has much more information than the other, that's called asymmetrical information. And that does lead to market failure. Asymmetry of information, I believe it's what it's called. Yeah, asymmetry of information does lead to a market failure. This is not good. Not great. $90 is steep. Yeah, it's absurd.
And we're all just okay with that? The answer I got at the Denver International Airport from drivers and customers was a resounding no. So why is it happening? If we're all against it, can't we do something about it? That $90 Uber ride from the Denver airport I keep referencing, I started my investigation there. What unfolded after led me to the truth about how rideshare drivers are paid and the various ways organizers are working to change it.
That airport is in the middle of nowhere too. Jeez. Lack of transparency. Essentially, that's what it is. We have city entry pricing here in the UK now, about $17 per day to go into London. You can't take a 5-mile ride to it. It's got to be 20 plus miles. Jeez.
Hi, for Isabella?
Yes.
All right, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good, thanks for asking.
Do you drive for Uber and Lyft?
I do. I drive full time. I drive over 60 hours a week. I do this pretty much every single day.
That's a little
60 hours a week every single day? Nah, fam. I can't do that. Like that might be fine for like maybe like 2 weeks. But man, that would get rough real quick.
a little more than full-time, I'd say. 60 hours, that's a lot of hours driving. Does that pay the bills? Is it a little less, or how does that pan out?
So over time, the money that we take as Uber and Lyft drivers has gradually been going down, and it's at its worst right now. I quite remember when we started driving for Uber and Lyft, per our contract, they were supposed to only take 25%, and then we get 75% of the ride. But that's not the case anymore. They take, I'd say,
long haul trucker numbers. Yeah, but no long haul trucker pay. Not even close.
at least 60% of our fare right now. And that is just not good for us drivers. And you have to put in more hours now. There's no transparency, because we used to see how much you as a passenger got charged for the ride, but not anymore.
And why do you think these rideshare companies keep this information from you guys and from the customers? Why do you think they hide it?
I think they hide it because we know how much they're charging this passenger.
Right. And if they know how much you're being charged, you know how much you're being shafted on each ride. So that might cause a little bit of an uprising of your contract employees if they start realizing just how much you're shafting them. Right. No benefits either. Also, this dude is likely fired after this interview went public. You think so? That was 3 hours ago, so I guess we'll see.
And how much, if we knew any more than we already know, what we can demand for.
Eric believes Uber and Lyft don't want drivers to understand the full scope of the money each driver is losing per ride, because that would give drivers fuel to demand more. I wanted to follow up on this theory and find out if Uber really takes 60% of its drivers' fares, like Eric says.
Or like it's even hard to kind of calculate because you have to like basically go to the source, right? Especially if they're taking measures to try to hide it.
Fortunately, I found a researcher who's already on the case in Boulder, Colorado.
The best way to think about this research is an exploration of how we can give drivers and organizers the data and the tools that they need to investigate their working conditions. So basically what our research team did was we built a software tool, which is called FareFare. And the FareFare tool does kind of what the name implies. It tries to tell drivers if their fare, like how much they're paid, was fair.
Real quick, the data Samantha's about to get into is preliminary. Her research team relies on driver participation, and what they've done is just the start of what they hope will trigger a price transparency revolution nationwide.
The most interesting trend for us and for our community.
So this is kind of like, similar to the concept of pharmaceutical companies trying to hide the prices of their drugs, or insurance companies trying to hide the prices of the services or whatever when it comes to healthcare. It's similar.
Community partners was around the difference in take rates for surge versus non-surge rides. Take rate basically refers to how much the platform takes from every customer fare. So in our case, all 10,000 rides came from Uber drivers. And we found that with surge pricing rides, the most common take rate was about 53% versus I think around like 46% for non-surge pricing rides, which is a huge difference really.
And why do you think these apps haven't been very transparent about these ratios?
In general,
because maybe people would get really big mad if they realize just how much of their money is being taken from you. Yeah, unironically streaming this on Twitch. True, that's the true irony of this whole segment, right? But to be fair, I am a critic of Twitch, and I don't like the fact that they shaft their creators, and I don't like the fact that they take so much of the money in comparison to like other platforms. I'd rather take a cab because they are licensed chauffeurs and are insured for that kind of work. True. That's a good point.
We think that there may be 3 possible reasons why companies don't want to be transparent. One reason may be, it's a lot of work to release data sets publicly. It takes a lot of labor, it costs a lot of money. Another reason...
They can't fire me, I would quit. I also have YouTube, and I also have a... and not only do I have YouTube as well, which you should subscribe to the YouTube, but also I have a way of streaming independently. So I'll be all right. I'll be all right. You can't really subscribe. Well, actually, there are ways of subscribing. There are ways of making that happen. Uber is a public company. They do disclose all the legal info that they're required to, but not their internal profit details. I don't believe anybody's asking for their internal profit details. We just want to know how much they're shafting drivers. That's it. Taxis have more standards and screenings than Lyft and Uber, or am I mistaken? You're probably right. I have no idea. But I'm going to lean towards you're right. They're shafting drivers good, I'm sure. Yeah, and that's the point. That's the question that they're trying to answer. Just how bad is it?
Is that, maybe companies don't actually store this information. And then a third reason, which seems to be, most common amongst organizers and definitely a very plausible reason, is that companies don't want to release this information because it would invite inquiry into how they're operating. Information really is power, and you're always at an advantage when there's an information asymmetry. So why release information when you don't have to?
Ha! That's what I was talking about. This is kind of like asking the 7-Eleven for how much they're making on Red Bull. No. I mean, like, unless that 7-Eleven employee is, like, working for Red Bull and all they do is, like, hawk Red Bull 24/7. I mean, like, I don't know. Because, like, an employee at 7-Eleven is making, like, a base wage. That people have to do that full time, make any kind of living, possibly. Yeah, of course. If you're busting your butt, and you're doing 40+ hours, then you should have a living wage. Period. Full stop. No excuses. Don't care. It's that simple. I mean, Twitch and Lyft and Uber are side hustles. Yes, to some people, but some people it is their income. Some people it is their income. In my area, DoorDashers make around 20 an hour on average, but that's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. Now, if you were to tell me every single DoorDasher in your area is guaranteed $20 an hour, then, like, yeah, that's cool. Depending on, of course, the cost of living. But yeah, I'd be like, hey, that's actually pretty good. But no, that's just average and not guaranteed. I'm talking about, like, I'm working 40 hours a week. I need my cost of living. I need my cost of living covered, and that includes food, housing, education, healthcare, all of that. Also, driving more than 10 hours per day is dangerous for transportation regulations. Yep. Especially if you're going, like, long distance. But yeah, it's very tiring. Anyways. But yeah, to some people it might be a side hustle. It doesn't matter. Some people really do depend on this. Some people, this is their bread and butter.
In other words, why release information if it could encourage a group of like-minded, exploited workers to band together for better conditions, to make that data work for them?
I sacrifice my time, I sacrifice my vehicle, I maintain my vehicle to the standard, I drive carefully, attentive, but Uber is not appreciating me.
They're making money. They're making money because what they told us, 27% they're taking, but they're taking more than that. They're taking more than that.
Do you think passengers know how much money is going to the driver for real?
Most of them, they don't know. Most of them, they don't know.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it doesn't tell you, like, oh, out of your $20 ride, 10 goes to the driver, 15 goes to the driver, 19 goes to like, it doesn't tell you. I mean, granted, I haven't used an Uber for years now, but like to my knowledge, it has never told you how much is going to your driver, with the exception of the tip, right? Because you put that tip. yourself. So you know, like, okay, you're going to give them $10 and like, that's it. Or whatever it is that you're going to tip based on the ride. I'm a streamer also, but the class job warfare thing. On a different topic, how do you feel about voting ID requirements? It's ridiculous. Why would you need a voting so what problem is that designed to solve? Because if you're trying to make like requirements and barriers to vote, like what problem are you trying to solve, and is that really a way of solving the issue? I don't understand. It makes no sense to me. Anyone who's like trying to make like these stupid voting laws or whatever can never explain what the problem is, can never point to me what problem they're trying to solve, with the exception of making less people vote. That's the goal. Attorneys working with class action are signing up Lyft drivers to take action in light of allegations that the rideshare company is misclassifying these workers as independent contractors when they should be employees. True. And therefore depriving them of minimum wage, overtime pay, and other benefits of bona fide employment. Yeah, 100%. That's a great resource. What if ID was printed at the time of voter registration and free of charge? I mean, what problem is it trying to solve again?
Like, somebody may punch you in the face sometime because if they're mad.
Well, what? What problem? Fraud. What fraud? Where is the evidence that there's overwhelming amount of fraud that this needs to be addressed? Do you see where I'm going? Because I already knew the answer to that. There is no problem. You're just making up stuff. Okay? Anyways, cool. Great talk.
About the judges.
We as drivers have had enough. Uber and Lyft play a very essential role.
No, you already described to us exactly the issue. There is none. You're saying in theory. Okay? Well, in theory, I don't care. I don't need theories. I need hard data to prove that there's a problem that needs to be solved. That's why I asked you from the beginning, what problem are you trying to solve? Easy peasy, right? Unless your goal, of course, is to make sure less people get to vote, right? You're too dismissive. No, I already went through this exercise so many times. It's quite frankly like annoying to even have to like go through it again and again and again. Yeah, so like unless you don't try to flip it on me. Don't try to skirt. Okay, don't try to pivot. I asked you very simply, what problem are you trying to solve? Well, fraud. Okay, show me the evidence that there's so much fraud that we need to address this, that we need to put a stop to this. Oh, you can't? Oh man, whew. Damn, you can't? So then why are we discussing a solution to a problem that doesn't exist? Huh. All right, you don't want a discussion. Oh, man. Phenomenal stuff, folks. Yeah, I've heard this story. I've already seen it. A lot of conservatives try to put this argument. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't work. It's the same conservative argument. Well, we need voter ID to reduce fraud, and we need to take care of fraud. Okay. So where are the numbers? No, I didn't say you were a conservative. I said this is the exact same argument that conservatives use. It's the same line of thinking. It's literally the same line. We need voter ID. Okay. Why? Because there's a lot of fraud. Okay. So are you going to show me the evidence that there's like so much fraud that we need to address this? No. So why are we having this conversation? Macy's is thankful for trans rights at Thanksgiving. Oh man, that's going to make some people big mad. Voter impersonation is very rare. People are more honest than conservatives assume. Right, because guess who's doing the very few like instances of fraud, like of actual like fraud, are done by conservatives who get caught, by the way, because we have systems in place. Systems in place to make sure that you can't just do whatever you want in our elections. Like, again, if you want to propose a problem, like, you're gonna have to give us a reason why we need this solution. Otherwise, like, it just seems kind of weird when people do this, because then, like, my only conclusion is that, like, you know what? It's kind of strange that you're proposing solutions to problems that don't exist. Why is that? It almost sounds like you just want to make sure that you put as much barriers as possible, or at least like little speed bumps, as many little speed bumps that keep piling along the way, that ultimately result in less people voting. That's the only logical like place where this fits, because otherwise you wouldn't be going down this path. It just doesn't make any sense. Because if you would look at the actual like data, voter fraud is incredibly rare. Like, voter fraud statistically is like non-existent. It's like 0.0000 whatever. Like, you could look this up. This isn't like something that I'm pulling out of my ass. I've already done this. The rate of voter fraud is less than 0.0001%. Jesus Christ. Cool. Great talk. Next.
In communities nationwide, they're celebrating all these record-breaking numbers, but then they're not actually compensating the drivers who are putting in the work to make this possible.
Rideshare drivers want honesty. They want apps like Uber and Lyft to show drivers what each rider is paying and exactly how much of that payment drivers will pocket. In Colorado, legislators like Stephanie Vigil, a gig worker themselves, are working on just that.
Right now, we just want to deal with the companies being obligated to tell all the relevant truth. And so what we focused on primarily was disclosures, mandatory disclosures. So you have to show a breakdown, like what is the customer paying, what's going to the driver, what's going to the company. I would like to see us dig deeper and have a better understanding of what does it take for this industry to continue to exist without hurting people.
Vigil is leading a push in the Colorado State House to mandate that gig companies share take rates and other pricing data with the worker.
Yeah, so like if this industry wants to exist, then it needs to pay, like honestly, it should pay like people base amounts. It should have complete transparency as to how much money they're being shafted out of. And it should be completely transparent to the driver, completely transparent to the customer, so that everybody knows what's going on. And the third thing that needs to happen is they need to be classified as actual employees. If these companies cannot survive by doing this, then, well, too bad. Okay? Too bad. Case in point, the last chief of staff who voted from a non-existent trailer in North Carolina. In 2017, a federal judge approved a $27 million class action settlement between Lyft and California drivers. The drivers claimed that they had been misclassified as independent contractors. The settlement provided expected payouts up to $8,000 per driver, depending on the driving hours. However, the judge cautioned that the agreement was not perfect and the status of Lyft drivers under California law remained uncertain. Yeah, I mean, like, they need to be, ideally, they should be put as employees. But, you know, obviously the only reason, like, none of this has happened is because Uber and Lyft and these kind of gig companies have lobbied so that they don't, because if they put their contractors as actual employees and whatever, like all the business model starts to fall apart. And if so, oh well, you know.
Passing legislation like Vigil's is key to empowering rideshare drivers and leveling the balance of power between corporations and workers.
The model that we are playing on in the gig economy is that of an independent contractor, that you work for yourself and not for the companies. The right to say no is what makes you an independent contractor. If you can't actually say no, then you're hired and you should be paid like it. So in order for you to be able to proactively say, yes, that's an offer I want, and no, that's an offer I don't want, is you have to know enough about what you're getting paid. They want to be able to gamify you into doing more work for less so they can charge the customer more for it. Meanwhile, they make off with billions.
So yes, Uber and Lyft prices are out of control. As riders, we all know it, we all feel it. And through conversations like the ones I've had this week, it's clear to me that drivers feel it as well. They feel the decreasing pay, the increasing hours, and the hostility from frustrated riders. But only through conversations with riders are they able to discover why they are feeling all these factors. Rideshare apps like Uber and Lyft are dedicated to their bottom line. And if that means hiding just how much money they're taking from its drivers to avoid widespread backlash, or God forbid a strike, then that's what they'll do. And they'll continue doing it until more studies take place, more drivers get motivated to fight for their rights, and more customers and legislatures speak out nationwide.
The critical thing to recognize about gig drivers is that we are kind of the first line in this problem, but we won't be the last. I think if these companies can find out and establish for themselves that there's no regulatory model that can hold them accountable, there's no one who can force them to tell the truth, they can do anything they want, they own the joint, they will spread this model to other sectors of the workforce. It is coming for your job if you don't snap out of it and pay attention, frankly.
At the end of the day, Uber just provides a platform. We put in the hours. We do our maintenance on the cars. We pay for insurance.
Yeah, it's the same as like for people who stream, right? All states have provisions for recounts and audits when needed. Judges can order them as well. True. Yeah, so that's just to be clear, like they actually did investigate this guy, but according to what they found is that they thought the prosecutor didn't find enough reasonable doubt, enough evidence or whatever. But if they did end up finding any more, they would reopen the matter. But that's basically what they ended up finding. If you're worried about voting in North Carolina, I suggest you become a volunteer poll worker like I did in California. You'll learn a lot. That's actually pretty cool.
We do basically everything for ourselves. We need them to be accountable for, their actions.
I think their point was that Mark Meadows' vote was questionable. I think that was it. Which he was investigated for.
I want to play you a clip from a guy called Bassem Youssef. He was known as the Arab Jon Stewart, and I interviewed him recently about the war, and he said this about you.
Sad.
All right, this one's pretty freaking funny. All right.
This thing that I saw is the people that were in so much support of Israel are anti-Semite themselves. MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she said I send my aides, and they took pictures of the protesters. Basically, she's surveilling protesters. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is very known for a very famous post in 2018 where she blamed the California wildfires on a Jewish space laser gun.
That's a thing that happened, yes. Based on an article I just read, Meadows' vote was legal, even with the confusion about his residence. Well, they did an investigation, and they didn't find sufficient evidence, is what I just read.
You just watched Marjorie Greene get confronted with comedian Bassem Youssef's criticism of right-wing supporters of Israel like her. Now, in that clip that Pierce was playing for her, Bassem went on to make a broader point about this double standard by supporters of Israel who will conflate any and all criticism of Israel's government with anti-Semitism. Meanwhile, evangelicals like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who literally spread anti-Semitic lies about Jewish space lasers, get a pass because they support the actions of Israel's government. So if you don't say anything about their use of white phosphorus or collective punishment or indiscriminate bombings in Gaza, you can be as anti-Semitic as you want, and they won't say anything. It's very disgusting. Now, to be clear, this isn't just a Marjorie Greene problem. This is a broader trend with the Support Israel movement, and I want to show you what I mean before we get to her response. So thousands marched on DC in support of Israel's genocide in Gaza, and it featured a diverse group of psychopaths, from Democrats like Van Jones, Chuck Schumer, and John Fetterman, to Christo-fascists like Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson, who said calls for a ceasefire were, quote, outrageous, and it even featured evangelical pastor John Hagee, who once claimed that Hitler was sent by God, and even blamed Jewish people for the...
Yeah, that's a thing. This is the guy that got invited for the pro-Israel rally. That's a thing that happened. Whew.
Holocaust, saying their disobedience towards God led to their persecution. That's a little bit of a snapshot of the people who participated in this rally, along with Democratic Party leader Hakeem Jeffries. Now, those comments from John Hagee were so detestable, obviously so, that even Republican John McCain rejected his endorsement in 2008. But at this rally, John Hagee, an anti-Semite, was welcomed with open arms, including by John McCain's daughter, who was there with her friend Tulsi Gabbard, who purports to be anti-war, but she's there in solidarity with a government carpet bombing Gaza right now, which...
No. She's against regime-changed wars, okay? That was her thing. God. Man, but by the way, Jimmy Dore, not for some reason, decided to endorse Tulsi Gabbard, and also posted a very weird thumbnail there on the Rumble. The implication being that the Jewish intelligence, the Mossad, could have done 9/11. I get why Hawaiians hate Gabbard. How can one not? Yeah.
Which is interesting to me. And John Fetterman, an American senator who draped himself in an Israeli flag and condemned his own Democratic colleague for supposed anti-Semitism, had fuck all to say about being in the presence of an actual anti-Semite like John Hagee. I guess it doesn't matter, because he supports Israel's war crimes, so it doesn't matter that he said Hitler was sent by God. It doesn't matter that he blamed Jewish people for the Holocaust. What matters is that he's there showing support for Israel as they bomb Gaza to smithereens, including bomb hospitals and ambulances.
By the way, like, Netanyahu himself has made comments like, actually, it was like Muslims who whispered into Hitler's ears to make the Holocaust happen. Yeah.
And refugee centers and schools. Doesn't matter, because he supports that.
From our orchards in southern Oregon.
I don't like pears. Stop trying to show me pears.
But this is what Bassem Youssef was talking about. This deep level of unseriousness from supporters of Israel who weaponize claims of anti-Semitism to shut down criticism of the government of Israel, yet allow people like John Hagee and Marjorie Greene to be openly and explicitly anti-Semitic, but they're welcomed into this movement. Now, Marjorie Greene shamelessly accused others of anti-Semitism after she literally blamed Jewish people for wildfires. So with that being said, you kind of know the context. You know what Youssef was referring to. I have a full video in his comments there if you want to watch that. But this is her response to Bassem Youssef, calling out her dumbass comments about a Jewish space laser.
You did, didn't you? Because I've read that post. I went and got it, and I read it. November 17, 2018, you posted a long thing on Facebook that was just complete gobbledygook. I mean, you made out that...
Jesus. When, like, Piers Morgan is, like, the rational one on the screen, when Piers Morgan is the one that's, like, making, like, rational, like, no, like, actual, like, logical statements, that's when you know you're in trouble, okay? Kulinski had a video that I reposted about Mayor's comments on Obama both sidesing. Honestly, my mind forgot about Bill Mayer. I'm gonna be honest.
I wrote this book. I talk about Jewish space lasers
do you admit
in my
that
book
was a
because
lunatic?
that's something I never said.
What? That's something you never said. Dude, the guy just said that I found the quote that that people are talking about. I went back and found the quote. What are you talking about? Obama.
No, excuse me, Piers. I never said that phrase. That was
what? Just didn't happen, folks.
a lie about me. If you read my original Facebook post, I never said, and that's why I had to write this book.
That's why I had to buy. Oh my God, please buy my book. Jesus Christ, no shame. Oh man. Yeah.
Because people like you and whoever that guy was, he sounds like one.
Dude, all he said was that, hey, I've got the receipts right here. All right. That's all she said. Her post was insane though. Wait, what? What do you mean she's strictly right? Like she didn't say that? Sorry, she wrote that. She tweeted that. Okay.
One of the trolls in my social media attacking me and calling me names when he's never met me. I'm not anti-Semitic at all. I support Israel, and I am outraged at Hamas attacking innocent Israeli citizens, women,
Marjorie,
children, slaughtering babies.
Bro, relax. This is like the Ben Shapiro clip, right? Oh, man.
I'm not calling you anything. I'm just saying that you did post this crazy post, basically alleging that...
the media lied about it, and that's...
He's telling you that I literally have the receipts. What, like, all she had to say, like, if she was like a normal and hinged person, all she would have to say is like, yeah, and that was really messed up. Okay, that's all she had to say. Own it, because like everyone can see this, and just say like, yeah, that was pretty bad, that was pretty wrong. I could see that, and I've never said anything like that ever since. Like whatever, literally whatever. But no, she can't do it.
That's why I wrote my book, Piers, because I'm setting the record straight. And I hope people order my book at mtgbook.com. It's a great read. People need to know exactly who I am.
Oh no, I think we're good. I think we're good. I think it's pretty clear who you are. Okay.
Who I am and what I really believe in.
It's a very good plug for the book, but you did suggest in this post, which I've read very carefully, you did suggest that the California wildfires at the time had been started by PG&E in conjunction with the Rothschilds using...
Yeah, with the Rothschilds, I mean, like, dude, it's the Jews, okay? There's only one group of people that reference, like, the Rothschilds in this way, the Rothschild banks or whatever, being funded, and there's only like one class of people that they're talking about the Jews. Okay. Like that's as unambiguous of a dog whistle as you can get. That's about as unambiguous of a dog whistle as it can get.
A space laser in order to clear room for a high-speed rail project. They're your words, not mine.
Well, you know, people have twisted my words nonstop, and I guess that's what you're going to continue to do. But we're
like she can't even say like anything other than like, well, you're twisting you're twisting my words. What? Bro, they're your words verbatim from the tweet. That's the dude literally read out the tweet. Firefly, welcome. It was an insane charge that U.S. satellites have lasers, and that forests are being destroyed so California can have high-speed rail. Right, but it's not just that. It was funded by the Rothschilds. That's like one of the most like low-hanging like that's one of the most like low-hanging dog whistles in existence. Okay? And you know that this is the case because literally everybody understood what she was talking about, including the Nazis. Everybody understood exactly what she was talking about. So it just seems like weird. Like she's incapable of addressing it because she knows what she said. That's it.
Working hard in America to straighten out our problems. You are.
She can't. She's literally doing like the Ben Shapiro thing. She got Ben Shapiro'd. That's what happened. Like, make no mistake, Piers Morgan is an absolute clown, and she can't even manage. She can't even manage this situation. Then clarify she can't. she can't and she won't. Because like there's nothing else. Like it's one of like the most lowest hanging common like dog whistle that we know of. The Rothschilds. Identifying the banks as the Rothschilds anti-Semitic dog whistle, which stopped being a mere dog whistle a long time ago. Right, so it just means the Jews. So, like, it's not really out of pocket for people to be like, ha, wow, that was a pretty Nazi shit to say. Are you trying to say low-hanging fruit? Yeah, like, it's a low-hanging dog whistle? Because it's not, I don't know, I'm trying to, you're going to have to work with me, okay? I meant that, like, it's one of the most common dog whistles to refer to, like, Jewish people. Like, they use the Rothschilds. It's like saying the global cabal of elite bankers. You know, like, come on. Yeah, you know, okay, cool. As long as I'm communicating the point. Okay? As long as I'm communicating the point. Yeah, I mean, it's like saying, like, yeah, the global elite cabal of bankers control the... I mean, come on, man. It can't be more, like, explicit with, like, without using just, like, without flat out just saying the Jews financed a giant space laser in conjunction with whatever the rest of the quote is. Like, without saying that, like, that's about as close as you're gonna get. But, like, even now, after years, like, you know, she's still trying to hide behind, like, the thinnest of thinnest veils of plausible deniability. Because she didn't say the Jews. Okay? Yeah, it's a common, well, it's not slur per se. It's just a dog whistle. I don't know. It's the best I can come up with. Is globalist an anti-Semitic dog whistle, or does intent and usage matter? I think most of the time, when people say globalist, 90%, like, and that's the whole point of a dog whistle is exactly that. But like the overwhelming amount of times that you hear the word globalist, it's probably in an anti-Semitic manner. Like overwhelming, and like that, you know, small percentage that it isn't. That's what makes it a dog whistle, right? It's designed to do that. That's what dog whistles are. You don't really know, but like if you know, you know. Yeah, so yeah, most of the time globalist is that's a pretty classic one too. Globalist, cabal, globalist, cabal, elites, the global elites. Sometimes that's another dog whistle. Most of the time, it's just talking about the Jews.
You're doing a great job of it, Piers, and that's what you and your colleagues do all the time.
Marjorie,
I just don't. I don't handle it. I don't.
It's paranoid and pseudo-populist, but I wasn't sure. But that's the thing. Like sometimes they just sometimes they say like globalist, not in an anti-Semitic way, but like a lot of the times, it is. So it kind of it kind of muddies the waters. Alex Jones uses globalist a lot, so it's super suspect. Yeah. And Alex Jones is pretty suspect. Fuck Alex Jones, true. Alex Jones is way past just being suspect. Yeah, Alex Jones hosting Nick Fuentes and Kanye, I Like Hitler West. Yeah. Old growth canopy. Any MTG like Magic the Gathering? Yeah, I love Magic the Gathering.
Don't deal with it, and I cast it to the
Marjorie,
side.
I have your,
you know, there's a lot of issues happening.
Ma'am. You said the things. I have the receipts. Well, if you have any doubts about like anti-Semitism, just look at the kind of people that Alex Jones invites and hangs out with. I mean, I think that paints a pretty good picture as to where he is. My favorite card is Ostracize. That's a pretty old card. It's kind of like a not Thoughtseize, but like a nerfed version of Thoughtseize. I'm pretty sure there's other cards that are very similar. I can't remember. I had a couple of the cards. They didn't take out creatures. They took out spells, I think, out of your hand. Jones pushed against Kanye's anti-Semitism slightly, but that may have been for the show. I mean, why have somebody like Nick Fuentes, who's unambiguously a Nazi, and like the best thing that you could do is like have some light pushback? Yeah, I mean, like, dude was running active cover for outright like Nazi shit being said by Kanye. He was literally trying to save him the entire time. He was giving him so many avenues to get off. He built so many off ramps for Kanye to get off the I Love Hitler thing. I mean, like, I don't know if you were watching the same thing that I was, but Jesus Christ, the dude was sweating. Dude was working overtime to try to give cover. Nah, I don't know. It just seems kind of weird. Besides, like, yeah, I don't think we need to defend Alex Jones. I think his record is pretty clear. So I don't know. It just seems like an exercise in futility.
That we could talk about.
I'm going to come to those. We could talk about. But before we move on, though, you have to just accept what you wrote yourself, don't you? You deleted it. You were embarrassed by it.
Well, that would be like me asking you to accept the fact that you defended prisoners at Guantanamo Bay, but never say anything about January 6th defendants who are having their rights abused.
What? What? Wow. Damn. She's very lucky that she's a congressperson who gets like the best health care, because that pivot was so hard that I'm genuinely concerned for her hips. That pivot was so hard and so abrupt that I'm genuinely concerned that her hips might have got dislocated with a pivot that hard.
And are rotting away in solitary confinement here in our country.
Yeah, so of course she's not owning up to it or addressing the main point that Yusuf is making, but you can tell that...
Yeah, the tourist, the very peaceful tourist visitors, who are now, the very peaceful tourist patriots, visitors, who are now being treated like political opponents, like political prisoners, I'm sorry.
She was embarrassed by seeing this criticism because after this interview, she went on Twitter and took a shot at Bassem Youssef, writing, "I just went on Piers Morgan and he asked me what I think of this guy. I've never even heard of him, but he sure looks interesting."
Wait, no, that's not addressing any of the points that even Piers Morgan brought up. You never addressed the ultimate point of like, hey, you know, this dude that I interviewed brought up a very interesting point about like, isn't it interesting how like all these far right like Nazi Nazi types are now speaking at like pro-Israel rallies, like yourself. What do you have to say for this? And like, we know that this is like the case because he actually mentioned the very example about you insinuating through anti-Semitic dog whistles that like the Jews made or funded space lasers that started the California wildfires. In fact, I've actually dug up the quote here. What do you have to say about this? And like, she couldn't really address that point. There's like no way for her to address it. Because that would necessitate coming face to face with the reality that she did do that. It was anti-Semitic. So now, how do we square that circle? Because the comedian dude, whatever his guy, Yosef, made a point that she can't contend with. So I guess her response is to like pretend and pivot away and show her book.
Now, first of all, that's not what Piers Morgan asked. He didn't just play some random clip and ask you, what do you think of this comedian? He was criticizing you in particular, but you didn't engage with his criticism. And furthermore, she shared the screenshot of him where I guess that's supposed to make him look crazy. But he is literally a comedian making a funny face to mock people like you. And you're
like basically she's like, she got Ben Shapiro'd, okay? That's what happened. That's what happened. She got Ben Shapiro'd.
Unseriousness. But by all means, Marjorie, please pick a fight with the comedian. I'm sure it'll end in his total humiliation and not yours. But I want to go back to Yusuf's original point. Supporters of Israel's government are so thirsty for U.S. support as public opinion turns against them that they will welcome anyone, including actual anti-Semites, into their movement, like Marjorie Greene and John Hagee. Also, that way they can say, look at all of these people who support what we're doing in Gaza. It's a just cause. What we're doing is not wrong. Those who criticize us are wrong. Now, that's not the only double standard, because while supporters of Palestinian human rights get blacklisted and lose their jobs, you also have celebrities like Sarah Silverman, who defended collective punishment against Palestinian civilians, go on to guest host The Daily Show 2 weeks later. Like, can you imagine if somebody defended collective punishment against Israelis? It would be wrong, justifiably so, and they would likely get canceled. But if you say it about Palestinians, well, we've dehumanized them, so have at it. Say what you want. We don't view them as human beings. Now, on top of that, you also have Republicans like Max Miller and Brian Mast literally advocating for violence against Palestinians, while the only Palestinian American in Congress was censured for saying from the river to the sea. And she added, she does not mean genocide. She means freedom for Palestinians. But yet, wasn't enough. They censured her, but not Brian Mast or Max Miller, who said we're going to turn Gaza into a parking lot. Listen, the longer that supporters of Israel refuse to engage with this double standard and perpetuate it, the more unserious they look. I mean, as if supporting a genocide wasn't discrediting enough, but I mean, the people who don't know any better, they see these contradictions. They're too obvious to miss. And while we're on the subject of double standards, there's been this hyper-focus on fringe supporters of Palestinian human rights who also advocated support for Hamas. Now, this includes some DSA members in New York and BLM Chicago after October 7th, who posted an image of a paraglider saying we stand with Palestine. And listen, I unequivocally condemn that, even if it's a small minority of people who are advocating for Palestinians. But the question that I want to ask is anyone who's supporting the actions of the Israeli government going to condemn any of this? For example, quote, let Israel finish the job. I mean, after 10,000 plus Palestinians are dead, including 4,000 children, how can you interpret this as anything but an explicit call for genocide? Where's the outrage? Where's the condemnations? Now, here's more genocidal signs at the pro-Israel rally. Quote, many Gazan civilians are Hamas in training. There is no proportionate response to Hamas. Civilians who praise the slaughter of Jews are not innocent.
Yeah. That one's that's pretty rough. Many Gazan civilians are Hamas in training, so I guess we just have to kill them all, right? Because, you know, that's pretty freaking bad. That's pretty bad. There is no proportional response to Hamas, right? So kill them all. Jesus Christ.
Well, by that same token, could you say that any Israeli who praises the slaughter of Palestinians are also not innocent? I mean, these people...
And, like, what does that even matter? You know, you may find it abhorrent, but it does not give you license to wipe entire, like, neighborhoods off the map. It doesn't give you license to wipe entire families out of existence. Quite literally. That's not an exaggeration. Entire families have literally been erased, as in they no longer exist. I'm talking about like, oh, a household of no, I'm talking about entire family names are gone. They are gone. They do not exist. Yeah, no, clearly this is wild. Wild.
Don't understand how hypocritical what they're saying is. Now, here's my favorite. From the river to the sea, Israel is what you'll see. Now, I was told that from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free was an explicit call for genocide, but I'm assuming that this person, who is part of a crowd that chanted no ceasefire, is advocating for a peaceful one-state solution with equal rights for Palestinians and Israelis. I mean, look, zero condemnation, zero outrage, nothing for that. In the same way that Republicans like Brian Mast and Max Miller can get away with genocidal rhetoric, supporters of Israel, they can do the same too, I guess. But the reason why this doesn't feel like a double standard to them is because supporters of Israel's genocide don't actually view Palestinians as human beings. So if you think about it from their perspective, how can Israel be guilty of a genocide if their targets aren't actual human beings? These are animals. I mean, this is what Israel has reiterated time and again.
Right. Netanyahu, I believe, has used those exact words, actually. Yeah. And members of the Israeli government have echoed very similar rhetoric.
So if you're not killing human beings, then it's not a genocide. I mean, this is why the condemnations of genocidal rhetoric have been asymmetric. It's because one side does not view the other side as human beings. And to be clear, violence and genocidal rhetoric against Israelis, along with support for Hamas, that's all indefensible too, and I condemn it in the strongest possible terms. I condemn the October 7th attack on Israel. It was horrific. But the reason why it's so easy for me to do that is because I view Israelis as human beings, where supporters of Israel can't say the same about Palestinians, hence why they're standing in solidarity with Israel even after 4,000 Palestinian children have been killed. It's just so disgusting and monstrous. And the fact that Democrats like John Fetterman and Hakeem Jeffries are aligning with Mike Johnson and Marjorie Greene in solidarity of supporting Israel kind of tells you everything you need to know about the moral bankruptcy of this movement. But getting back to Marjorie Greene, she couldn't respond to Yousef's double standard because she had no response. Instead, she decided to change the subject and talk about January 6th rioters. Now, that was a very bad idea, as you're going to see, because Piers Morgan anticipated this and challenged her on that as well. And after she couldn't take the heat there, she decided to switch back to the subject of Israel again.
Oh, man.
We can't allow this just to be gone, you know, just to let it go. You can't allow it to just transfer power peacefully like Joe Biden wants and allow him to become our president, because he did not win this election. It's being stolen, and the evidence.
Oh, we're back to the election stuff. Gotcha. Hey, I saw your direct message, but for some reason I can't. When I click on it, it asks me to sign into Discord, and I can't do it on the web page for some reason. Open app. What if I just open the app? Okay, cool. No, why doesn't it not work? Oh, wait, I found it. Ah! Okay, it works. It works. Oh, they're fighting? No way. Alright, well, that's entertaining enough. We'll go over this in a second. That That's actually pretty funny. I got it to work. I don't know. For some reason, Discord insisted on opening on the web, like the web page instead of the actual app. But I got it to open up on the app, and I can see it now. So I'll put it up. Hold on. Just give me a second. Open link. Open link. Okay. Yeah, we got there. Okay. All right, we got it queued up. This is too funny. This is too funny to not go over.
Evidence is there.
So there can be no peaceful transfer of power. So what's the opposite of peace?
That's why we objected, Piers. That's why we objected.
By the way, again, Piers Morgan, biggest clown, biggest clown there is, and somehow Marjorie Taylor Greene can't do it. She can't handle this. She's getting Ben Shapiro'd.
So there can be no peaceful transfer.
Couldn't take the heat there. She decided to switch back to the subject of Israel again.
We can't allow this just to be gone, just to let it go. You can't allow it to just transfer power peacefully like Joe Biden wants and allow him to become our president, because he did not.
Yeah, you can't allow for a peaceful transfer of power because my team didn't win. So basically what you need to do is an insurrection. That's an explicit call to action, right? There's no other way of interpreting this. Even a clown like Piers Morgan is like, wow, she's calling for like violence. Okay.
Not win this election. It's being stolen and the evidence is there.
It's not.
So there can be no peaceful transfer of power. So what's the opposite of peace?
That's why we objected, Piers. That's why we objected. And it's
that's why, Marjorie, a gigantic
privilege
mob
that I have as a member of Congress.
Okay. Yeah, and that's why the January 6th insurrection happened, because people like you and Trump and everybody else who is pushing this, well, the Republican Party, let's be honest, from the Republican Party, like carte blanche was pretty much at the responsibility for this. Full stop, okay? The Republican Party colluded with the Trump campaign teams. In fact, that's what's being investigated. That's what's going to trial. And it's wild that, like, Piers Morgan is literally showing her, like, dude, this is you, man. You did this. You said this. Here's the video. And then she's like trying to like, oh, but that's why we disagreed. You didn't just disagree. You explicitly called for this, and then it happened. You explicitly called for violence, and then it happened.
But let me make my point.
There was a law firm that tried to take me off the ballot, and they were laughed out of the courtroom.
That has absolutely nothing to do with the claim, with the point being made right now. Nothing to do with the point being made.
Make my point.
And you were giving their talking points. I can't tell you how much people in Georgia would think
Let me give you my talking point, which is that a huge mob of people, many of whom were violent.
Insurrectionist. The word you're looking for there, my guy, is my brother in Christ. Okay? The word you're looking for is insurrectionist.
Crashed into the Capitol to try and thwart democracy.
Wait, do you mean like
people like you, Marjorie,
Hamas?
People like you.
Whoa! What aboutism, dude? Like, hey, man, if you can't contend with the point, just say so. God, man, whew. I'm telling you, like I said, it's very lucky that she's got that government health care, because man, the pivots that she's been doing. this entire like exchange has been rough, man. I'm genuinely concerned. No human being's body should be able to take pivots like that. Yeah, like Elvis, jeez. Like my hips are starting to hurt from making pivots that hard. From watching her make pivots that hard.
Said two things.
You mean like the pro-Hamas rioters?
No. I'm talking about Jeremy
and occupied our capital
Marjorie,
on October 8th.
Yeah, dude, true. The pro-Hamas, the pro-Hamas jihadists stormed the Capitol, and that's why now a bunch of them are under arrest and being tried for sedition, right? Like she's like Shakira, except her whole body lies, right? Not just her hips.
Marjorie, that Rashida Tlaib herself led.
Answer my question.
No, wait.
True, dude. Rashida Tlaib at the head of the charge, okay? At the head of the pro Hamas charge insurrection that happened.
We're in 2023, Piers.
Marjorie, answer my question.
We just had a pro-Hamas mob.
You've written a book.
We're in 2023. Can we not talk about the thing that happened like not too long ago, literally just like a couple years ago? And hey, look at that in the context of like now the here and now. There's an election going on next year, and hey, as it turns out, both of the same candidates are up on this election. Presumably, as of right now. I mean, it's unless extenuating circumstances happen, it's going to be Joe Biden versus Trump, right? Like that's going to be the election. So presumably, we're facing the exact. We're facing the exact scenario. So like, I think the point in the here and now in the modern context is like, hey, are you going to do the same thing? Like, what if Biden wins? What if Biden ekes out a victory? Are you going to call for another insurrection? Because that's what I'm hearing. He's not saying it explicitly, but that's what I'm hearing. Underneath all of this, right?
Come in and crash the Capitol. Okay. And Rashida Tlaib.
Can I ask you a question?
True, dude.
Wait, I want to talk about Rashida Tlaib.
Rashida Tlaib led the insurrection herself.
In Israel again. That was amazing. Now, if you watch the full clip, which I'll link to down below, by the way, that goes on for a while, and he never gets a straight answer from her. And for the record, I have to say that Piers Morgan is somebody who I don't like. I think he is a deeply unserious political hack. But having said that, though, I did enjoy him pushing back against her lies about the 2020 election in this particular clip, because she came on with the expectation that this was going to be a softball interview where she could freely promote her book. I mean, she's a right-winger, Piers Morgan is a right-winger, but he didn't give her the opportunity to do that. So if you watch the full thing, she goes on to try to shoehorn in a plug for her book wherever she had the chance to do that. And you know she's desperate because she's even lobbying The View to bring her on so she can promote her shitty book, writing on Twitter, "Hey, The View, you had Hillary Clinton on this week and Rachel Maddow recently. Are you scared to have me on? After all, there's a View outside of New York City. I talk about the women of The View in my book." Just stop. Nobody wants to read your shitty ghostwritten book. But the reason why she's so desperate is because certain retailers like Hudson Books won't actually be carrying her book. Now, what I love about this particular element of the story is that, as Newsweek reports, this has sparked allegations of censorship from people like Trump Jr. And I just love this so much because the pro-book banning party is now crying censorship because retailers won't carry their books. But I mean, I thought that you said banning books was good. What?
No, you don't understand. Banning the books that we want to be banned are good. Okay. Banning our books, not good. See the difference? Yeah, absolute babies. Snowflakes.
What if these retailers were worried that her book would groom children? Have you ever thought about that, Republicans? Of course not. Look, they are clowns, But at least Democrats like John Fetterman and Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are able to find common ground with these Republicans on the issue of genocide.
It's true bipartisanship, folks. True bipartisan at work here.
So heartwarming to me to know that our politicians are able to come together and reach across the aisle in their support of bombing children in Gaza. It's just amazing. What a great country we live in. Love it so much here. Definitely not a dystopia.
If only America censored MAGA. What you mean, like Republicans? I'm not really in favor of that. That's the thing. All right. No, well, they're Republicans, Alio. They're Republicans. They're all the same. MAGA are just Republicans. Trumpers are just Republicans. I've already made that. I've already made that case. There's no point in making the distinction because they're all Republicans. That's it. Ezra Klein had a guy called Mike Podrazer on the show who actually gave quite an optimistic take on the fate of Democrats in the next election, actually. Maybe worth checking out. The Trump worshippers, I know it's probably the same. No, it is the same. There is no distinction. Like, there's no daylight between Republicans. Like, the Trumpers are Republicans and Republicans are Trumpers. It's just that simple. The best way of illustrating this is, like, if there was an actual faction, if there was an actual real legitimate divide, like an actual ideological difference between, like, moderate Republicans and like Trumpers or the MAGA movement or whatever, then why did they unanimously all unite behind like a very, very vocal ally for Trump? And in most candidates that they put forth for speakership, again, the second in line to the presidency, almost the overwhelming majority of those people were also MAGA people who are election deniers. I don't know. It's all the same to me. Especially with Trump constantly losing midterms and candidates and 91 felony counts. In it, they actually make a very interesting point about censorship and reach, particularly of Trump. They talk about how negative partisanship, generally what you'd assume is more exposure to Trump equals more outrage from liberals and higher turnout. But if you silence Trump and he only now speaks on Truth Social to his people, he gets mobilization fine. But there's no counterbalance of outrage to mobilize Democrats. Yes and no, because like those comments are public. Everything that he does is public and very well monitored and posted. And, you know, screenshotted and posted and shared and talked about. In fact, we've done that. And a lot of major news organizations and news outlets report on what he says, even if it is just limited to Truth Social. I don't know if that holds true in the day and age of the internet, right? Like, he is very, very much watched and monitored by the other side, right? And that's another good point. He does have public speeches, and people talk about it, and people push back on the nonsense. Although, I think that here's another like potential explanation. Maybe like the overexposure of Trump throughout all of these years has gotten so much that like people are just numb. So it's harder to mobilize that. It's harder to mobilize that opposition, because like even I'm guilty of this. How much Trump speeches do I even cover now? I don't. I don't cover Trump speeches because I can almost recite them, point for point. I can almost recite them about what he's going to talk about. He's going to talk about the radical left destroying the country, the elections, the partisan, witch hunts. Like that's I can tell you what he's going to say. So I don't even tune in. But I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there in the void. I think it's only because you have to remember that not all exposure is the same. Hearing a secondhand account of Trump saying something offensive is not the same as seeing him on live TV or coming across his Twitter on your own and him saying something egregious. It's not organic. People don't feel it as much. Maybe, yeah, that might be the case. I mean, like, I don't know. It might be the case. I'm just like proposing another potential explanation. Because like, I mean, everybody knows what Trump's about, right? Like, we know what he's going to say. We know, like, he's been like a broken record ad nauseum every time talking about the same things over and over and over again. The radical left, the witch hunt. I did nothing wrong and they indicted me. Yeah. We all know, like, it's the same story time and time again, and people just don't. They're just tired of it, so they don't show up. It's not the same energy as it was when you heard this a couple years ago. That doesn't mean it's any less dangerous. I'm just saying it feels like maybe another added explanation is that people are getting weary. If I go around telling thousands of people Trump is really bad because of X, then some might believe me, but some might not because they find something about me untrustworthy. But if they see Trump doing a bad thing on their own or via source they can trust a lot, then they're more likely to act on it. Maybe, yeah. I mean, that's certainly that's certainly true. Maybe. I don't want to vote against someone. I want to vote for someone. Yes. In an ideal world, that's where we would be. All right, so we'll table this and see if we can get through this. All right. So, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for their... This is some kind of Bible verse, I guess. Blessed, for which they are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. No one can serve two masters either. You will hate the one and love the other. You will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Candace, if you feel that way if you feel that taking money from the Daily Wire somehow comes between you and God, by all means quit. Like, is this even, like, did she even start this as, like, as a dig at Shapiro? Mouselander, welcome. Did she even, like, attempt to do this, to throw shade at Shapiro or the Daily Wire? It just seems like she's just posting a Bible verse. Although, ironically, like, Ben got a little touchy and responded by saying, by all means, quit if you're, if the money's too good, then, like, by all means, quit. Which is hilarious. To which she responds, "You have been acting quite unprofessional. Again, emotionally unhinged for weeks now, and we have all had to sit back and allow it and have all tried to exercise exceeding understanding for your raw emotion, but you cross a certain line when you come for scripture and read yourself into it." Jesus. No, this seems like she genuinely just posted this to post like a Bible verse. Because like her response is like, "I don't know, man. I'm just posting like the Bible stuff and you're inserting yourself into it." Candace isn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. True. Anonymously, welcome. I mean, I don't frequent any of the major platforms that lots of right-wingers use, obviously, but because I don't, I do sometimes worry or wonder that there is things going on there that are untracked. There's a group of sinister people. I personally would rather they be out in the open than hiding in the shadows. Well, I mean, you can, where you'll find those people, they're always going to be there. Just go to 4chan, okay? a very open, or public, I guess, server or website. Just go to 4chan if you want to see what they're up to, or go to Gab. Like, you don't even have to make an account. Just scroll on what's happening on Gab. You'll find the Nazis. Remember what Candace said about Hitler? Vaguely, I'll be honest. Something about like, Hitler should have just contained himself to Germany, because if he didn't have any like expansionist goals, and he could have just like chilled in Germany and like done his genocide with nobody bothering him. Great to be here. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Welcome. I will not tolerate it. Is there any other updates on this? I'm actually curious now. Yeah, I literally think that
not that was why saying because
call it wrong, they call it disinformation, which suggests it could be right. That's usually a tell. And speaking of, so I was out of the country yesterday and didn't have adequate internet access on the plane to really follow this, and I don't understand the context exactly, but the internet was dominated yesterday by video of Ben Shapiro, who you work with at the Daily Wire, I think it's fair to say, attacking you. Here's the video. I just want to get your reaction.
So this is, I think this is where the oranges of this this happened.
Yes, the question was about Candace Owens. I think her behavior during this is disgraceful. Without a doubt, she is not. Yeah, and she still works for my company. I think she's been absolutely disgraceful. I I think that her faux sophistication on these particular issues has been ridiculous. It's not faux sophistication, it's ridiculous. Everybody can see the moves that she's making and the things that she's saying, and I find them disreputable.
So maybe there's a point in the video where he explains what exactly you did wrong and how you were wrong. I haven't seen it. But to call somebody, quote, absolutely disgraceful, particularly a coworker, seems like a pretty big step. And I really don't know the background here. What is that about?
You know, there isn't much of a background. I saw the video when everybody else saw it when I woke up.
No one,
it looks like maybe he didn't know he was being recorded. It looks like
Yes.
it was some sort of a private event. I got no clarity on the issue that he was particularly speaking on. And in what was said, I can't respond to it beyond what he's saying because it's just ad hominem attacks. I don't know.
Yeah, because
what
it's not, we
specifically-
disagree, or
Yeah.
I don't think she's correct, or maybe she doesn't know what she's talking about. It's absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah, exactly. And so I can't respond to it on a level of intellect because there's nothing that he has expressed in that, at least in that short clip.
Well, to be fair, Candace, we've seen when you have actually attempted to have intellectual responses. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
That he fundamentally disagrees with in terms of what I said, but I will say that I'm not going to respond with the same ad hominem attacks.
Yes.
I don't think it helps further discussion. And if that was me that was caught on a video saying that about colleagues that I work with, I would be embarrassed. So I think that the video speaks more to Ben's character than it speaks to mine.
Has he texted you to apologize or explain or anything?
No, nothing. I haven't heard a single word. It just was sort of something that he said. And you know what? Ben and I have many disagreements, so I don't think that that's particularly something that's interesting. We disagreed on the COVID vaccine. We disagree on Ukraine and Russia. He has taken virtually every stance that has been the opposite of mine on every issue over the last 5 years. So I don't think that that's
On the
particularly
COVID
remarkable.
vaccine. Really, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, he was pro the COVID vaccine. I was anti the vaccine. You know, we were all idiots for not getting the vaccine. So that's totally fine. I am totally open to people having a difference in opinion.
Right.
I would hope that amongst colleagues that it would always be a civil disagreement. And I would never in a private event stand on a table and talk badly about Ben.
It's
I
just
would
a little
say,
weird. It's a little weird. So he was on the left on those three biggest issues of our time, is what you're saying?
What? Yeah, dude. Okay.
he has converted his opinions. He's accepted responsibility. He said, I was wrong about the vaccine.
Oh, good. Good for him.
He is,
Good for
obviously
him.
pro pharma. His mom's a doctor. And I say to people, I'm very aware of my perspectives on big pharma, and I talk about it on my show openly. And I think that that's a tremendous credit to the Daily Wire that they allow a difference of opinions. But I as I said, hope that it would remain respectful and that
Difference of opinion. If you mean difference of opinion is like, you living in a complete alternate reality, then okay. I do not recall Ben Shapiro being pro-vaccine. He did. I didn't hear that. Well, maybe he didn't say it explicitly, but maybe maybe he wasn't like explicit, or maybe didn't make too much comments on that. But I guess between them, when they've had discussions, because it would be very inconvenient to have Ben Shapiro come out and be very like vehemently pro-vaccine, like on the public platform, but maybe she's talking about like a personal like interactions between coworkers.
that you wouldn't throw your colleagues under a bus, so to speak,
I think
in
that,
a
I
private
think that,
setting.
think that's fair. And just for clarity, because I really don't know, is he your boss? Does he?
I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about Ben's involvement. He's not the CEO of the Daily Wire. He is not making the day-to-day decisions at the Daily Wire. And I do want to make it very clear, because people are like, how could you possibly save Daily Wire after this? I have a very good relationship with the co-CEOs of the Daily Wire. Especially right now, the acting CEO is Caleb Robinson. He's a wonderful person. He's worked very hard to be where he's at. We have a lot in common that we connect on. And so people don't get to see that, which is unfortunate. Ben lives in Florida. He's not a part of the day-to-day movement of the Daily Wire. The rest of the hosts have their shows situated in Nashville. So we see each other every day. We talk. There's great camaraderie. And there's actually more agreement. There's actually a lot of people that are, as I describe myself, just pro-America first. And I think I've been that way consistently throughout my political career. Whether people...
Hey, is it just me? Or is it just getting more and more like obvious that as like these movements become more and more far right, isn't it interesting how like Ben Shapiro is the one that's going to be ostracized? Like, he's gonna end up being ostracized, considering like what she's describing, as like her relationship between the acting CEOs, and saying like, well, no, Ben actually doesn't have decision-making power here. In fact, like, he doesn't even live here, dude. He's like out chilling in Florida. Like, he's not, he's not one of us. She used the word like, oh yeah, we all live in Tennessee. We all have a sense of camaraderie. He's just out there in Florida, like, I guess doing his own thing. But interesting. Hey, how many Jewish people are hosts of the Daily Wire? Hey, what are what were Candace Owens' comments about Hitler again? And that she's actually really tight and agrees with and is very, very in line with the actual current decision makers at the Daily Wire. Wow. Huh. It's all adding up. I don't know. Hateful people hating each other? Yeah, more leopards eating my face. Right. Yeah, but, Ben Shapiro is like, well, not my face, right? No. It's not going to save you, Ben. They'll come for you too. They'll come for you too, eventually. It honestly would not surprise me if it turns out that like Ben leaves the Daily Wire.
Agree with it or not in different moments is up for debate, but I don't want that video to become a reflection of how the Daily Wire works and the Daily Wire operates, because I have had a very good experience with the CEOs, and love Michael Knowles, love Matt Walsh.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, wow. Whew. Yeah, I love Michael Knowles. I love Matt Walsh. Whew. Yeah.
Drew Clavin, we all get along really great.
Well, it certainly speaks well of the Daily Wire then. So it's not, I mean, a clip like that on the internet, oh, Candace Owens is out or something. That's not, doesn't sound like that's what it means at all.
Yeah, no, it's a small group of people. We see each other every day.
Right.
Brett
It might be the opposite.
Cooper is another one who just joined about 2 years ago. She's great. She's up and coming. And there's a lot of stuff that we're working on. And that's why I think this video is even more unfortunate, because people see him as a figurehead, rightfully so, of the Daily Wire. And it allows people to, speak energy into the Daily Wire that isn't necessarily there, because he's not there on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, that's very interesting. So if we could take 3 steps back and give us the context for this debate. How are you on different sides of it? I haven't heard you endorsing Hamas. Like, you're not. No.
Well, I have not endorsed Hamas in any way, and yet people have interpreted things that I say, or actually rather things that I don't say. It's becoming very much reminiscent to me, and why I have used my platform to say this, of Black Lives Matter, where if you don't say anything, they say your silence is violence. If you say something and it's even-handed and it's nuanced, which is to say, during the times of Black Lives Matter, you might say, I don't support police brutality. Who does? I don't support racism. Who does? But also... No.
This is a Mott and Bailey, dude. Nice try. Please, all these thieves have zero honor among them. They will cut each other's throats in an instant to benefit themselves. Yep. Yeah, she did wear a shirt that said White Lives Matter. That's true. That's very true. Next to Kanye, I Love Hitler West. Yeah.
So I think that police are a crucial part of every city. We need to have policing in cities, so these calls to defund the police are immoral and wrong and are going to lead to more Black deaths. People didn't want that nuance. When following George Floyd, there was no nuance. You had to explicitly say defund the police. You had to post a Black square. If you didn't post a Black square on Instagram, by the way, specifically on the platform of Instagram, and you maybe were busy that day, maybe you were in another country, maybe you just didn't log on to Instagram, you were accused of being a racist.
That's not true. That's a thing that never happened, okay? Do you want to know? I never even knew that was like a mandatory thing, because it wasn't. I didn't do that. I think that my support for police reform and my support for Black Lives Matter has been done in actions and advocacy. Heck, I was at 2 protests. There's no such thing as cameras, I guess. Yep. Anyways, that's just like, that's a thing that never happened. Okay, out of all the things that never happened, this never happened the most. Yeah, she's literally just talking ish. How do you lie and post Bible verses? Easy, because she doesn't care.
I'm seeing a lot of that behavior right now when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a conflict that I have seen every single person, including myself, condemn what happened on October 7th. Because who wouldn't condemn terrorism? It's obvious. Who would not condemn innocent Israelis dying? But if you then say that it is also sad when an innocent Palestinian child dies, suddenly this is pro-Hamas, or you need to say, even when you're talking about how sad it is that a child dies, you need to button that statement by saying, but that child was a human shield. That's not going to be my response.
Holy shit. What the heck? Candace is actually correct. Wow. Is Tucker hiding in a cottage? No, he just wants to give that, like, he just wants to give that vibe.
First off, as a mother, that's not going to be my response. As somebody who is about to give birth, when I see these images of children involved on both sides of the conflict.
Like, as someone who's about to give birth, like, I can't, like, holy shoot, like an ounce of humanity? Wow. This is actually more impressive.
I've pointed to the.
Wait a minute. Is that why like Ben Shapiro is big mad? Because she dared to show empathy for like a moment, in a brief moment of lucidity. She was like, "Oh man, bombing children is like bad," and then Ben Shapiro's like, "Are you pro-Hamas?" Wow, that's literally probably how this works. That's literally probably how that worked out. Hamas does not use children as human shields. That is a lie. Well, what I'm just saying what she believes. Children being bombed is bad, and being against children being bombed is not the same as saying you're pro-Hamas or whatever. In the perspective that she's putting here, and I think that's what kicked off this whole thing. Because Ben Shapiro probably heard that and got triggered by that she would dare have like a moment of empathy for like the Palestinian children.
That are mocking dead Israeli children and said that they are horrific. I am even keel on this matter, and yet people think that you need to be extreme. So people that have become more radical and extreme are perceiving a moderate stance as not enough. And
because I was about to say, people can disagree with you or agree with you or whatever, but you certainly don't seem radical on this topic.
I'm definitively not radical. My stance has not changed in terms of whether or not America should be involved in this conflict. Whether we were talking about Afghanistan, my comments have been clear. They've been documented for years. Whether we are talking about Ukraine and Russia, my comments have been clear and they have been documented. I mean, you can go back to me even talking about NATO expansion before things erupted between Russia and Ukraine, and having a meaningful discussion about how much expansion is too much expansion. How would we feel if we had troops on our border? These are things that should be allowed in an academic discussion. You should be able to sit on stage and should be able to debate these ideas without using ad hominem attacks to say that you're a pro-Putin puppet or you're pro-terrorism. Even in the aftermath of 9/11, something that we all remember as part of my childhood. I think I was in 7th grade at the time.
She's a grifter and always has been, no doubt.
In the New York City area, so this was a very big deal. If a person the day after 9/11 wanted to debate the Patriot Act, it's not fair to call them terrorist sympathizers.
No.
Actually, they would have been proven right in the long run. That act, we gave up a lot of our freedoms. And I think
Jesus. Like, how much fact checking does one have to do for this conversation? So much. Oh yeah, like I'm not sitting here to like actually fact check every every detail that she says, because it's like, I mean, seriously, people who didn't put black squares on their Instagram posts are racist, whatever. So she can be a human being when she's not specifically being paid to rile up the universally gullible. Right, because she's a grifter. Right. So yeah, wow. So I'm convinced that this whole thing started because Candace Owens had like a moment of, whether it be for whatever reason, whether it be because she truly believes it or doesn't believe it or is grifting, for the moment expressed what seemed like empathy for Palestinian children being bombed. And I guess Ben Shapiro couldn't have that. And I guess Ben Shapiro couldn't have that. I had to unblock her to see all this, by the way. That's why I never caught exchanges. I never caught an exchange of this, because I had to reveal the posts because I've blocked both of them. Eric the Eclectic, welcome. Phenomenal meme. All right. So many people triggered by a little sympathy for children, right? Like, whether or not she actually believes that or doesn't, or I don't know. One can never really tell, given her history. But the point being is that her expressing, like, hey, maybe bombing children is bad. Maybe bombing Palestinian children is bad. And Ben Shapiro's like, are you pro-terrorism? It's disgraceful. Anyways, yeah, I wasn't there to try to like pick apart like the actual facts of the matter. It was just like her underlying points. Like I mentioned, Bill Maher was also triggered by Obama saying Palestinian children are victim too. Yeah, I mean, absolute friggin' monster. And I'm so glad that like I forgot about Bill Maher. I'm so glad I forgot about Bill Maher. Yeah, that's right. But they're Palestinian children, right? So they don't count because they're not humans. Did you guys ever talk about Ted Cruz on Bill Maher? No, I don't watch Bill Maher, so yeah, I wouldn't know. I couldn't tell you. Bill Maher won't let you forget. It's what he spends his energy on these days, being annoying in ways that we can't ignore. True. I forgot like his show like was a thing until he brought up the whole like comments about Palestine. Jordan Peterson was on the show too this weekend. On the Bill Maher show? Jesus. Yeah, really scraping the bottom of the barrel there. He wasn't this bad. I used to watch him up until 2015. I actually used to watch him around actually the same time. You're right. And then he got infected by the woke mind virus took over. Unless it's for ratings, I don't know about that. Bernie scared him further, right? Yes, and even Bill Maher thought Peterson was talking crap. I mean, that is pretty telling, right? Bernie runs, almost gets a W, and then your reaction is to move to the right. That's pretty telling. Pearson has gotten even more incoherent, if that was possible. Jeez. Alright, folks, we gotta speed run through some of this. Senator Joe Manchin says he absolutely would consider a presidential run. In an interview with Kirsten Welker, the West Virginia conservative, said he had conservative Democrat said he had to explore whether there's an appetite among voters for a moderate candidate like him. Senator Joe Manchin an inch closer Wednesday to confirm that he would run for president. I will do anything I can to help my country, and you're saying, does that mean you would consider it? Absolutely, said Manchin. Every American should consider if there's a position to help. Every American should consider if they're in a position to help to save the country. Wait, is he saying that like everybody should run for president? What? Manchin said he first has to explore whether there's an appetite among voters for a moderate candidate like him. Well, no. No. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure to mobilize that moderate, sensible, common sense middle. Manchin suggests that if he can reinvigorate the middle-of-the-road constituency, that would play a major role in whether he would launch a White House bid. I'm totally, absolutely scared to death that Donald Trump would become president again. I think we'll lose democracy as we know it. So instead of doing something about it, I'm just gonna run and probably torpedo the race in favor of Trump. Manchin said he doesn't think there's a deadline for him to make a decision about a presidential run, but mentioned he would figure that out around Super Tuesday, scheduled for March 5th if he has a following. Your Twitch shouted out carpet packs in the YouTube chat. It doesn't work there. No, it doesn't. He means authoritarian white supremacist capitalism. We should lose democracy as we know it. That's a tell. Oh, I see what you're saying. I think we'll lose democracy as we know it. The news comes after Manchin announced last week as he would not seek re-election to the Senate, which will make it difficult for his party to hold the seat in the deep red state, which, again, this was probably going to be the case regardless. Manchin said he doesn't think there's a deadline for him to make a decision about presidential run, but mentioned he would figure it out about Super Tuesday. The senator dodged a question about whether he would run as a third-party candidate, just saying the bottom line is, I'm as independent as it comes. So, yes. Right, the very thing we need to lose to save human civilization and the planet. Certainly not democracy, but this is not it. This is not it. When he says democracy, he's gaslighting. Manchin is a mistake or stirring up buzz. There is a deadline. What are we talking about? Manchin, right? As independent as it comes, meaning he's going to try to run for third party. Yeah, when he says democracy, he's gaslighting. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I agree. Manchin seemed to reject the notion that an independent bid could hurt President Biden's re-election chances. I've never been a spoiler in my life of anything, and I would never be a spoiler now. But, okay. Yeah, he really just does need to go away. Like, look, man, you're probably going to lose your Senate bid. You're already saying that you're not going to run for re-election. Just go away, dude. He said he doesn't think Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are the strongest ticket to defeat Trump, arguing that they don't cater to centrists. He said that Biden has moved too far left, guys. Guys, Biden is too far left, folks. Can you believe it? The very thing we need to lose to save humanity, civilization, and the planet. I think he's talking about the comments in the context from the perspective of Manchin. Because when Manchin talks about democracy, it's not the same. It's not the same context as when we talk about democracy. New timeline, who this? Biden has moved too far left in his policies, especially on energy. Especially on energy, which he directly benefits on. Hey, quick. How many gas projects has Biden approved? What's the timeline on any significant policies that are moving towards actual, like, renewable energy projects? What's the timetable on that? How much money are we truly investing on this? Criticize the migrant situation at the U.S.-Mexico border. So just good old-fashioned Republican xenophobia. Gotcha. Conservative xenophobia. Gotcha. Although he said he's dissatisfied with the Biden administration, Manchin spoke highly about the president's stamina. ? When I met with Biden, we've always had an active engagement, he said, dismissing concerns about the effect of the president's age on his physical and mental health. Man, we must live in bizarro world. We must live in bizarro world. Like, I think that Manchin just lives in an alternate reality. But okay, sure, we'll go with that. Sure. Biden's about as far left as an interstate exit ramp. True. Manchin repeated that he's worried about the prospect of another Trump presidency, especially as the former president has threatened to use executive power to take revenge on opponents and prosecutors who have investigated and charged him with war crimes. Oh, man. Phenomenal stuff. Actually, I'm going to steal that. Biden is about as left as an interstate exit ramp. I need to make like a document to save all of these things. Because some of the comments you guys make are absolute freaking bangers. all yours. I don't stream. I appreciate that. I'm gonna save that. I need like a notepad or something to save a notepad notepad document to save all this. All right, I'm gonna call it base department. And I'm always gonna make sure I put who said it so I remember. Okay, there it is. I made a notepad called Based Department, and I'm just gonna start like copying and pasting stuff as I see it. I like cheese. Okay. Hello, Based Department. Let me quote that. At the risk of being unpopular here, I'm not going to maybe have to distribute not on what policy is correct, but rather on the role of people like Manchin. It's unremarkable to acknowledge that the Democrats are a bit of a broad church of people, and when you welcome that kind of variety, you're also agreeing to the idea that you will sometimes need to compromise and give ground to create a center. I mean, like, yeah, but also if like the ground that you're giving is like the same for all intents and purposes, the same as like your political opposition, then like it just seems that like we should just cede ground, especially the type of ground that Biden ceded to Manchin when he threw his fucking tantrums, when there was some real push to finally get like a little bit for the people, for the working class, and then to have someone like Manchin be like, nah. I don't know, like, is that where the compromise needs to happen? Because like compromising would be like, hey, maybe we should raise the taxes, like, not, whatever, like just simple stuff like that. But it just seems that like this type of stuff that was surrendered to Biden, was surrendered to Manchin, seems completely out of line, especially if you need a base to vote for you. It just seems weird. It just seems wild to me, because if not, then like what's the point? If you can't compromise with someone like Manchin, then there's absolutely no way you're going to compromise to the Republican Party. I don't want to compromise with the Republican Party. With any of the Republican Party's positions right now, there's nothing to compromise. There's nothing to compromise here. From the Republican Party's perspective and their positions and their policies, I'm good. I'm good on that one. Like, we've seen the type of actions that they've taken, and I'm good. But they also don't want to compromise with you. Do you think that's fair of them? If they don't want to play ball, they're the ones with the destructive policies. I don't want to compromise with destructive policies that are going to end up hurting people, when all I want to do is progress forward and move past this, if that makes sense. And if my opposition, all they do is try to like consistently harm and damage people, not just with policies, but like completely and are acting in completely undemocratic fashions, there's nothing to compromise here, right? So like, no, I don't want to compromise with the Republican Party, because they won't do the same for me either. Okay? I don't expect the Republicans to be like, oh yeah, dude, you want universal health care? No problem. Can we meet and like get public options? No. Can we get a public option that'll eventually turn into some type of universal healthcare system? No Republican's gonna do that. My point being is that, like, Why should we capitulate, especially to certain like with certain lines that we really shouldn't be compromising on, like approving, like being strong armed into approving like more pipelines for Joe Manchin. Why? So he could personally profit from that? Like, why do I want to sit down at the table with that? I'm good. I'm good on that one. So yeah, if we can't, yeah, like, yeah, you're right. I don't want to compromise with the Republican Party. You're right. They're not offering anything to work with, to compromise with. And I suspect that they won't. And it's funny because, like, every time, like, the Democratic Party does actually try to do deals and actually does capitulate to the right wing, whether it be their right wing or their or Republicans, I mean, it's the same crap. Like, you talk about, like, Joe Manchin's, like, ideology is, like, indistinguishable from, like, Republicans, essentially. All that happens is just that, like, it just continuously, like, pushes that conversation along to the right. They're the only ones benefiting from this. Then I think capitulation is maybe the wrong way to view it, because that's certainly what they also view it too. For example, completely hypothetical, what if Manchin said he could swing a vote for universal healthcare, but we wanted some oil pipelines to create jobs? Would people consider that tolerable? I would have to, like, view that. Because, like, damn, how much like destruction and health hazards is that going to cause, versus getting something that I've always wanted, which is universal healthcare. That's like one of my prime, like, pillars, right? I don't know. All compromising with Republicans has gotten us as means testing the poor into homelessness, minimum wage, ignored to uselessness, and massive oil dependency. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree that every time that, you know, like I said, capitulation happens, it always just benefits the right. Always. But I don't know. That's a tough one. I guess if that scenario ever manifests itself, I'll get to you. Okay, if there's a situation where a Joe Manchin would actually support universal healthcare, but I'll let you know. I'll let you know, like, when that happens, because, man. It only benefits the right, the right's top 5%. The other 95% thinks it helps them. Well, yeah, I mean, they still vote, right? These people still vote for Republicans. Basically, what I'm asking is there a price? Because I think most people would admit there's probably a price that they'd compromise on. Of course, the current form of Republican is weird. That's one way of putting it. But more generally, most people do agree that there is a level of rigidity to both parties where they don't want to talk at all. And that situation tends to commonly lean more and more to frustration, extremity, to the points of things are breaking down. But that's their fault. That's their fault. The only people who are exacerbating the problem, like, objectively, is them. But then they tell me it's your fault, so who's right? Well, who's objectively, like, not feelings, who's objectively making it impossible, putting it the other party into impossible positions where it just seems like every time the Democratic Party decides to play ball and the Democratic Party decides to do what the Democratic Party does, which is capitulate, and they have done this time and time again, every time it happens, how come it's always the right that benefits? And how come it's always the right wing that is pushing these extreme positions in Congress and manifesting them into real policies that they're attempting to do? We cannot capitulate to that. They're the ones that are putting everybody else in this position. They're the ones that are putting legislation, like, for example, to ban books. They're the ones that are putting legislation to harm trans people. They're the ones that are putting legislation to screw over the working class. There's no capitulation there. But then the Democrats did their own fair share of obstructionism when Trump was in power too, because they saw the value of inactivity. They knew that to stop Republicans from stuff done, their voters will get annoyed. Well, yeah, that, and that's what they should be doing, especially if the stuff that said Republicans are doing is pretty freaking bad. Okay? That's my point. Like, objectively, if your political opponents are, doing stuff like banning people from just using the restroom, like, oh no, I guess we should just compromise and like meet halfway. Like, what? No, you should obstruct that. I'm not saying that, whatever. I'm just giving a hypothetical example. Like, you should be obstructing that, right? Doesn't matter what party you think you are. Like, you should be like obstructing and raising the alarm bells if you see like a political party or a political movement being like, I don't think this group of people needs to be here. I don't think this group of people needs to be in society. We're just going to start slowly by like death by a thousand cuts, like making legislation. So like, well, we're going to ban like drag queen, shows. We're going to ban like anything that's related, in terms of media. We don't want books talking about them. We don't want teachers or anything like that. We don't want we don't want them using certain kind of bathrooms. We want to make sure squeezing and ostracizing them out of society. And like obviously the immediate response should be to block that. The same goes if your opposition party is like proposing absurd policies, like I don't know, building a wall, then yeah, you should be obstructionist. If your opposition party is like making like nonsensical policies that are hurting the working class, and like, yeah, you should be obstructing. So in that case, like, yeah, you're obstructing, but like, you're supposed to be doing that because it's the right thing to do. In the past, people like Manchin would have certainly been more common and more celebrated as a classical politician. But I think that day and age is over, right? we want results. And of course, that exists in a time when some ways the stakes have changed, of course. But I suppose my fear would be that the system doesn't really care if the stakes are different. If legislative gridlock is the new normal, eventually trust in government will collapse so far that it won't be good. How do you resolve that without basically saying, do everything I want? Then maybe the system itself isn't that great, and maybe the people that are breaking said system, because like, maybe the people who are breaking the said system is the right, and they want it that way because the whole point, the name of the game, is to rule that. The whole name of the game is to win, checkmate. The parties broke the system by locking in a two-party system. Yeah, that's a good point. Not the right who will benefit, it's the wealthy who benefit, but maintaining the discord between the various factions of the working class. It's left, and some of the center who want improvements for everyone, and powerful use the right as a bulwark against change. That's all. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? Because like the far right always benefits from this. Even if the wealthy think that they're the ones that are gonna come out, nah. I've seen this story before. A lot of business interests funded and supported Hitler because they thought that they were gonna get benefits from this. That wasn't so necessarily. Hitler just took them all over. So I've seen this story before. There's a difference. The parallels are very, very close. But it's certainly the case that the left has flirted with the idea of breaking the system too. For example, packing the court as a way to subvert normal procedure because you don't like the status quo until of course the shoe's on the other foot and the other guy is packing it. Yeah, it depends. Are they packing it to do good? Probably not. So that's the point. And like court packing isn't really out of procedure because it's a thing that's written in what you can technically do. Whether or not you agree with doing that procedure is one thing, or whether or not you see the benefits of doing or activating said procedure is another argument. But, if the other guy is packing it to take away more rights, then yeah, it's kind of bad. That's kind of bad. But if you're packing it to counterbalance the damage that has been done, then like, to objectively try to make people's lives better by giving them, I don't know, the right to bodily autonomy back, then that's a whole other, question. All right, so we got to just fly through some of these things. China and the U.S. pledged to step up climate efforts. China and U.S. have pledged to accelerate their efforts to address climate change ahead of a major UN meeting on the issue, making a commitment to take steps to reduce emissions of methane and greenhouse gases besides carbon dioxide. The joint announcement came on the eve of a summit between Presidents Biden and Xi Jinping that is aimed at stabilizing the rocky U.S.-China relationship. So I'm just going to fast forward this. I'm not confident that the Biden administration is serious because, like, how many times have we talked about, how many times has it been said that we're going to talk about proposing, maybe doing, kind of, at some point, doing things. I'll believe it when I see it. If courts are apolitical as they should be, then it shouldn't matter who is on the court. I do agree it should be reasonably balanced, though. Ideally, but, A long stream, yeah, I'm trying to run through this. Yeah, deeply unserious. I don't unless I see something change, like actual action, like not just words. We may sing a different tune. But these are the same empty words we've heard since decades. This is not even new to the Biden administration, per se, by the way. This isn't unique to the Biden administration. It's just more empty words. Heat with another 13 biddies. Thank you, I appreciate that. Nevada Attorney General is investigating the false electors who aided Trump. This is actually a bit of a good news. The Attorney General of Nevada is quietly investigating Republican activists and operatives who falsely pledged that the state's 6 electoral votes to Donald Trump in 2020 despite Biden's victory in the state. In recent weeks, investigators have questioned witnesses about the attempts of the so-called alternate electors to present themselves as viable representatives of state voters. According to 3 people familiar with the probe, investigators have also asked about documents those people have prepared as part of the effort. The probe, which until now has not been publicly reported, it is the latest sign of potential legal jeopardy for the Republicans who, amid Trump's bid to cling to power, posed as electors in states that Biden won. Again, to say that this was just uniquely Trump is not true. There's no daylight, as the Republican Party has colluded in several states to do this. These Republican operatives, this just didn't happen in one state. False electors in Georgia and Michigan are already facing criminal charges, and an investigation is underway in Arizona. Nice. In Nevada, 6 Republicans, including the GOP state chair Michael McDonald, signed the fake certificates on December 14th of 2020, falsely declaring themselves to be the state's duly appointed electoral college representatives. Trump and his allies then invoked the slate of false electors, as well as similar slates in 6 other states, as they tried to block Congress's certification of the election results in January 6th of 2021. Joe Gloria, who was Clark County's registrar of voters when Trump allies in Nevada tried to reverse the election, told Politico that a state investigator asked him questions earlier this month about the fake elector scheme. Another person who was questioned and who was granted anonymity to discuss a sensitive probe also said that investigators answered details about the fake electors and documents that they prepared. A third person briefed on the probe, also granted anonymity because of its sensitivity, confirmed it is active. Nevada Attorney General Aaron Ford, a Democrat, declined to comment through a spokesperson of the 6 Nevada false electors. Ford did not respond to requests for comment. One declined to comment and one could not be reached. Ford has previously sent mixed messages about the potential for a state investigation into the fake electors. In May, he suggested no criminal charges were likely. As you all know, I have been silent on Nevada's fake electors, except to say that the matter was on our radar, he said in a testimony to state's legislature. With it on our radar, we ascertained that current state statutes did not directly address the conduct in question, to the dismay of some, and I'm sure to the delight of others. In that hearing, he testified in favor of a proposal to ban people from acting as fake electors. The Nevada Independent had reported the bill passed through the state's Democratic-controlled legislature and was voted in June by the Republican, was vetoed in June by the Republican Governor Joe Lombardo. Combining Trump, Lindell, and Rudy, what could go wrong? Then in September, Ford appeared to change his tune. I've never said that we're not going to prosecute. It's not that I've said that I can't. It's not that I've said that I can do nothing. What I have said, and I've been precise with my wording on purpose, is that we don't have statutes that directly address this issue. The statute of Ford's probe, including whether he will seek indictments, is unclear. It's also not clear whether Ford is investigating anyone outside of Nevada. So probably just these guys. One of the state's false electors, Jim DeGraffenreid, was in touch with Kenneth Chesbrough, a lawyer working with the Trump campaign and a chief architect of this fake elector scheme, in the days before the activists signed the fake certificates, according to the House January 6th committee. Urgent! President Trump Pence campaign asked me to contact you to coordinate the December 14th voting by Nevada electors. Read the subject line of an email. DeGraffenreid sent Chesbrough. Chesbrough pleaded guilty in Georgia last month to a single felony count after being charged alongside Trump and 17 others with a racketeering conspiracy to overturn the election. In Nevada and in other states, the people who acted as false electors said at the time that they were doing it as part of a contingency plan because of lawsuits Trump's team brought challenging this election outcome. But after courts rejected those lawsuits, Trump used existence of the false electors to pressure his vice president Mike Pence to block the certification of the results on January 6th. Chesbrough similarly noted that pro-Trump members of Congress could invoke the false electors as a rationale for upending the results. On the day that the 6 Nevada activists met and signed the false paperwork, the state's Republican Party praised them. History made today in Carson City, Nevada, said at McDonald. Nevada leads our electors in casting the Nevada 6 electoral votes for the winner, Donald Trump and Mike Pence, the party tweeted in December of 2020. In addition to McDonald and DeGraffenreid, the other Nevada Republicans who claimed to be electors for Trump were Jesse Law, the head of the head of the Clark Republican Party. There were James Hindle, Aline Rice, Sean Meehan. Meehan declined to comment, and Rice could not be reached. The others 4 did not respond. Beyond Nevada, Trump allies posed as electors in December of 2020 in 6 other states: Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, Wisconsin, Georgia, and New Mexico. Michigan's Democratic Attorney General Dana Nessel brought charges against the fake electors in July. Fani Willis, the district attorney in Fulton County, charged 3 of the Georgia's false electors in her racketeering case. And Chris Mays, a Democratic Attorney General in Arizona, told CNN last week that she's investigating the fake electors from her state. Okay, so the effort wasn't perfect this time, and I'm afraid more competent and more nefarious actors are coming soon. So, yeah, I mean, this is very serious. This is very serious. And, like, you know, to kind of just tie everything in a nice little bow tie. Like, is this what we're supposed to be? Like, what is there to compromise with these people? Like, what exactly is there to compromise here? It's there's nothing to work with here. These people clearly don't care. Even if you're coming from at it from like an institutional point of view, these people don't care. Right, they just want power. So like, what is there to compromise, and why should we? The effort wasn't perfect, and I'm afraid more competent and more nefarious actors are coming soon. Yeah, but also never discount the incompetence, the Charlie Brownish incompetence of the Democratic Party. To the point where someone like Trump could actually win. Okay? So it's not just that these efforts may become more sophisticated. It's also, it's also the Democratic Party's lack thereof. I don't know how to explain it. But they're just not there. Nowhere to be found when they really need to be on the top of their A game, so to speak. Considering that they're supposed to be the opposition party. And I use that in a very loose term. I think what's scary is like the fact that like, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these like far right lunatics, were calling for like insurrectionary like call to arms. If this happened in the 2020 election, I'm afraid that like the calls to action will be heard even more. And the next one should happen to be the case that Biden wins, and especially if Biden ekes out a win, just barely scraping by. Yeah, it's gonna. I don't know. Yeah, Democratic opposition. I need to fear losing and make policy in response. I mean, I wish. I agree with you. I wish. I wish they think. I wish they would act that way. I wish they would act and make policy in response to like the objective, objectively abysmal numbers that we're seeing. You would think in a rational and logical world, you would think that they'd look at all of this and go, huh, you know what? Hey, maybe we should like make policy and like look at this writing on the wall and turn this ship around. And we need to do that, and we need to do that now. But, you would think that that's what would happen, but crickets. It's exciting? No, exciting is not the word I would use. Exciting is not the word I would use. Far from it. All right, folks, I gotta get out of here. We're supposed to be representative democracy. It just ain't happening. Right, supposed to be, but yeah, not a whole lot of democracy and not a whole lot of representation. Yeah. All right, folks, I got to get out of here. Folks, if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. It really does help us out. No, I'm not muted. 3 states went Democratic last Tuesday. Live stream after Thanksgiving. Yes, that's right. Next week, I won't be here next Thursday. That's right. This is fine. All right, folks, I got to get out of here. If you see any diamonds in chat, make sure you follow them. Twitch.tv/carpetpacks. Alio Share, and I believe somebody else. Heat. I usually never speak up because it's always me. Mouselander, too. That's right. Can't forget Mouselander. All right, as I was saying, make sure you hit the follow button. It really does help us out. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Michael Hustler. Thank you, Heat, for keeping the chat chill. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. Don't forget to head on over to the YouTube channel, subscribe. Spread the word far and wide. We're here Monday to Thursday. Have a great evening. YouTube, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys hanging out. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Getting ready for the holidays. See ya. Hang tight, folks. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya. Gonna have a live turkey on set? No.